Before you watch this video, please note that I'm going to be hella salty and probably insult some of your favorite books. You have been warned. My name is Lauren and welcome back to my channel. So if you have been part of like the booktube community for a while now, chances are you know that every single year in roughly December and January, booktubers post their favorite and least favorite books of the year. And I am so excited to join on this year because last year I didn't keep track of all the books that I read, so I couldn't really participate at the end of the year because I didn't even remember what I read. However, this year I've been an active member of Goodreads, so I can actually figure out what books I did and did not like through my overall ratings and all the comments I wrote, etc, etc. So I have decided to start off with my worst books of the year because I want to, you know? As much as I'd love to talk about the books that I love, I think it would be also fun to talk about the books that I kinda hate a bit, you know? Obviously, this is a given, but these are all my own opinions, so if you like any of these books, I'm not stopping you from liking them. In fact, good for you, I'm glad you like them. But just for me, all the books that I'm mentioning in this video, I just personally don't like for the reasons I will be naming today. I'm not trying to attack anyone's opinion, I just want to put that out there. However, today I have compiled a list of my least favorite books. I currently have a total of 8. Everything else I read I either like enjoyed or didn't really have a problem with. So these 8 books are everything that I disliked and would not recommend this year. So I don't have too much more to say than that. So without further ado, let's just get started on hating on some of these books. Let's go. So we're starting off in 8th place with Destroy Me by Tahira Mafi. Destroy Me is 1.5, I think, in between the first and second book. And basically we get a perspective from a character named Warner. Now, no spoilers if you haven't read the Shatter Me series at all. Basically, the main point of view we see in the Shatter Me series is from a character named Juliet, and so the novellas always follow a character's point of view that we don't really get to see. So this character I find particularly good in this book because we get to see a side of him that we didn't really get to see in the first book and generally adds a little bit of good information and background information on him. However, I did give this book a 2.5, so while this is one of the only books on this list that maybe is okay, I didn't really like the story overall. I didn't really find it that enjoyable, so hence I only gave it a 2.5 out of 5 stars. Yes, we got a little bit of backstory from this character, who's an interesting character to say the least, but just the story itself wasn't that good. I read this book earlier in the year, so I don't really remember too many details about it, but as a general statement, all the novellas I've read for the Shatter Me series aren't really that good. So more thoughts to come on that later, but that is my number 8th spot, Destroy Me by Tahira Mafi. In 7th place, we have Red Rising by Pierce Brown. This is probably a favorite of someone watching this video, and I'm sorry if you're offended by it, but this is the first book on the list that I really don't like. I gave this book a 2.5 out of 5 stars. Honestly, I probably should have given it like a 2-star rating, but there was parts of it that were okay. The main character, he was a pretty cool guy. The main character, I would say we got a lot of background information on him, and his feelings of what he did were generally backed up pretty well, but then everything else in the book is kind of debatable. So does this book really deserve a 2.5 star? No, it probably deserves lower, but we'll see how I feel eventually. So many people love this trilogy. It's carried on to more books, I think, now too, but it was so disappointing. It was confusing. The characters, so bland. So bland. Other than the main character and like kind of the love interest at the beginning, bland. Every other character, horrible. Like, it made no sense. The plot starts off strong and then continues into nothing. It's horrible. I don't know why people like it. I'm so sorry if you like this and I'm just ranting about this, but just, this is what you signed up for, so yeah, this is what you signed up for. I actually buddy read this book, and this was the first time I ever did like a buddy read, and it was kind of disappointing because I was so excited to read this book and enjoy it, but I just ended up like hating it, which was so disappointing because like why would I want to read a book and not like it, you know? But overall, I did not like the book because I realized this year for the first time that when it comes to a plot-driven book versus a character-driven book, I believe I've been a dummy all my life when I say that the plot-driven books were better. That's not true. Personally now, I believe it's the characters. Because you could have like a subpar world or plot, but have cool characters and still have a solid book. But you can't have a cool plot and bad characters. That's not how it works. It just can't. Which is actually a perfect transition to my next book, which is Miss Peregrines Home for Peculiar Children. This is my number 6 book for 6th worst book of the year. I gave it 2 out of 5 stars. I'll just go over this again. I thought the plot of this book was interesting. So you have this kid's grandfather who has died, but his family kind of thinks he's a little crazy other than his grandson, who's always kind of grown up believing these magical-ish stories of the children he's heard of with all these cool photographs. Finally realizes that his grandfather wasn't crazy, it's actually a real thing. The way it all works, they go back in time and there's all these cool little elements that involve like a bit of history and fiction and magical abilities. It's such a cool idea, the way it's all structurally run. But then the main character's so boring, and the characters themselves are so boring. Like the kids at the home with the cool powers and abilities are so boring. I'm sorry if you like this book. I know so many people love this book and I really wanted to as well, but it's boring. Like I was reading these characters and I'm like, these characters are so flat. Like the only reason some of these characters exist, I only read the first book, maybe they develop more in the next books, but the only reason all the characters seem to exist is seemingly to be either to be a love interest or simply to just be like there for really no reason other than they're just there. Like there's no purpose I found personally to why they were actually there. So just a prime example of really good plot story versus a really good character story. Obviously you want to have a good mix of both, but this one, the characters just fell short, so hence the whole book fell short for me. Another good transition is how I want to talk about a book that had somewhat good characters, but a really sucky plot, and that is my number 5 spot, which is 4 of Mice and Men. I had to read this book for English. It's actually like just over 100 pages, so it's not really that even big of a commitment to a book, and it is a classic, and I have not been known for like liking classics very much, nor have I read very much, so I can't really speak to them, but Mice and Men kind of sucked. We have our main characters, I think their names are George and Lenny, and honestly, I was so confused trying to figure out where the story was going because they had some good backstory, they had some good bonds they formed, like we had some good discussions in class about the book, but the plot made, not to say no sense, but as I was reading it, I had like no idea where the story was going. I'm like, I don't know what this is leading up to. And there's a difference between being confused and waiting for like a plot twist or a certain event to happen. I did not know what was happening. I thought we were just following these two characters on a farm, but like, why were we following them on a farm? I don't know. And so if the reader has no idea where the story is going or can't even guess, then I don't understand the purpose of the story exactly. Like in the end, if you read it, you can kind of make some assumptions through the book, but it doesn't resonate with the reader really at all to what the ending is going to be or where the book is leading up to. And for that reason, I just found the book like so pointless because you spend all this time like describing the scenery and what the characters are doing and meeting all these different actually well-written characters just for the plot to be like non-existent, you know? So for that reason, I gave this book 2 out of 5 stars and overall did not enjoy it, nor would I recommend it. Now, in my number 4th spot, I'm probably gonna make someone upset with this, and it kind of hurts my heart that I don't like this book. But it is Again by Better by Christine Riccia. She is currently, I believe, the biggest booktuber in the community, but over 400,000 subscribers, so way to go, Christine. But I'm sorry, I didn't like your book. I actually read this book twice in the span of like a month. So the first time I read it, I relatively enjoyed it actually. It was a cute love story that had a bit of magical elements into it and I liked. However, after reading it, I realized that I was blinded by the hype the first time and took a more critical, analyzing role of the book and realized that it wasn't actually that good. I found everyone was overhyper, things weren't explained as well as they could have been, and overall the love in the story, which is kind of the reason of the whole novel, doesn't really resonate with me very well. So for those reasons, I did not like this book and I really wanted to like this book because I love Christine and I love her videos, but for whatever reason, this book was just not hitting it for me. There's actually this great other YouTuber, her name's Catherine. I'll link her video up here if you want to check it out. I watched her video and it kind of describes a lot of things really well. So if you want to check out like more of my opinions, I kind of agree with a lot of the things she said. So check out that video that I said. Kind of goes into a lot more than I can right now, can think of, because I read it quite a few months ago when the book first came out. But I would not recommend that book as much as I love Christine. Like watch her video, she's amazing, but her book just ain't it. Number 3 on this list, my 3rd worst book of the year, is The Love Interest. Now, I really hate this book because many reasons. First off, I read this book I think 2 or 3 years ago for the first time and really enjoyed it. I liked the plot and I thought it was well written. So I was like, I'm gonna treat myself and reread this book. Boy, was I disappointed. Let me just say, The Love Interest, let me tell you about the plot a little bit, just because it will help understand why it's bad. So the plot actually sounds good. So it follows these 2 boys who go to this like secret academy academy thing. And the whole reason for this organization is that if they see a potential person they think is going to be important in the future, for example, like maybe a new scientist or athlete or something like that who hasn't become popular yet but they think might be or might be important in society, they want to make sure that that person's like spouse or boyfriend or girlfriend is one of their love interests in the like academy organization thing. And the reason for that is because they found that people tell their like significant other their secrets, and if they can figure out that person's secrets and like sell the information to other people, they can make a whole lot of money. So that's essentially the whole point of this organization. So 2 guys are picked from this organization to kind of like compete for the girl's love, try to get them to fall in love with them. But she doesn't really know what's going on. So it's kind of really interesting concept to follow these 2 guys in this new situation to try to figure out how they're gonna make this girl get to like them over the other guy. It's a cool concept, which is why I was so excited to reread it, because I remember loving it so much. But then as I reread it, I realized the characters are really bad and the plot was poorly executed and the lines of the book are bad. There is literally this one quote that I will never forget for the rest of my life. It will just haunt me forever. It was like, did she just say frigid? My favorite fake swear word? Oh my god. Like, bro, calm yourself. She ain't that cool, okay? No, that's, it's so bad. It's so bad. So this book deserves the 2-star rating, maybe even lower, because it's bad. I would not recommend it. The storyline was poorly executed, and even the characters weren't even that good. And then the ending's rushed. That doesn't really make sense, because like there's no way the ending realistically could have happened. Like it just, I don't know. I'm just cheesed with this book because I really wanted to like it again, but I didn't. So yeah, I'm getting so heated over all these things. I'm so sorry if you like any of these books. Okay, number 2 on this list, my second least favorite book of the year is Fracture Me by Tahar Mafi. Going back to what I said originally, I don't really like any of her novellas. I've only read the 2, but both of them are bad. So I have to think this is a trend for me now. I gave this book a 1.5 out of 5 stars. This book is actually in between the 2nd and 3rd book, and we follow a character named Adam's perspective. And the reason I hated this book so much is because I found personally that it was essentially the exact same events we read in the 2nd book, but from another character's perspective, but his perspective is like the exact same as the first character's perspective. So I was reading these like 80 pages and I was like, literally, what is the point of what I am reading? The only reason I gave it a 1.5 out of 5 stars instead of a 1 star, because there was like one little switch in the character's brain that made it worthwhile reading, so that way you can understand the character's actions better in like the 3rd book. Other than that, I found it pointless and really, really boring to read. So I don't think I really want to read any more Tahar Mafi like novellas, but maybe it's just those 2 characters I don't like the perspectives of, so maybe I'll give the next one a try, but that's just my opinion. There's not so much to go on about for it because it's only like 80 pages, but I just found it really repetitive and unnecessary. And finally, my worst book of the year. If you've watched my wrap-up videos over the summer, you've heard me go on and on about this book, but it is the Barcode Tattoo. I have never in my life read a book as bad as this book here. This is the only book I have ever rated 1 out of 5 stars, which is literally like the lowest rating you can give a book. 1 out of 5 stars. Do you know how hard it is to give a book a 1 out of 5 stars, for me at least? Like, I find something to like, but this book had like nothing going for it. The characters were like mildly interesting at the beginning, but soon lost all their appeal. The plot, it makes no sense, because we start off with the book with actually an interesting sounding plot. Basically, it's in a society where everyone starts to get this barcode tattoo, hence the name. And essentially this barcode replaces like credit cards and all that kind of stuff. So people can just scan it, you're able to go. It also has all like your health records on it, so if you go to the hospital, they can scan it, figure out like if you have any allergies or medical history, like all that kind of stuff. So it's supposed to be helpful. But the main character's dad got the barcode tattoo and afterwards started acting really weird and ended up killing himself. And so the main character is like reluctant to get the tattoo, but everyone keeps telling her that you have to get it until it becomes a law where you actually have to get it. And so she's trying to figure out why her dad killed herself because of that tattoo. And it's like such a cool concept because the barcode itself sounds cool. And then you also have this character story which is really integrated well with the whole like world. But then it's so poorly executed and the romance is so bad and the writing is bad and the plot goes to garbage. Absolute garbage, I say. And not to mention, there's another book in the duology, okay? And then there's a book after that where it's like another person's perspective. And I'm like, what publishing company was like, you know what would be a good idea? This piece of garbage. Anyways, I'm sorry. I'm just really ranting because I thought it was really bad. I don't want to spoil it. For whatever reason, if you have any desire to read this book, but the plot goes from making sense to going so far off the original plot, it makes no sense whatsoever. And then the characters start to lose their motives behind what they're doing, and then the romance is so forced. So forced. This girl goes from liking one guy to another in like an instant when she really shouldn't have liked either of them for reasons in the book of things they do, but she does anyways. And then the way the book ends is so weird, it makes no sense. Like, I've kind of been yelling this whole video, but there's so many reasons to why these books are just not very good in my personal opinion. Worst of all being the Barcode Tattoo, which may I remind you got a 1 out of 5 stars from me at least. Anyways, that's my worst books of the year video, where I essentially screamed the whole time. I hope you enjoyed this video and the energy I put out in it. If you've read any of these books and you like them, I would like to personally apologize for my ranting on all of these, but if you also didn't like them, you know what's up. If you want to have any discussions about any of the books that I mentioned in this video and why you like them or don't, I would be happy to discuss with you, so just be sure to leave me a comment down below and like this video if you enjoyed it. Anyways, I will see you very soon with a new video, probably for my best books of the year video, because I actually read a whole bunch of good ones regardless of what this video may seem, so I'm really excited to talk about those ones and why I love them so much. So stay tuned for that if you're interested, but that is all I have for you guys today, so I will see you very soon in the next video, so until then, bye.